Hi everyone, my name is Ranger Amanda and I am a park ranger for the Allegheny County Parks. I mainly work out of South Park and I patrol 5 different parks, but in total we have 9 different parks in our park system. So just so you're familiar, we have North Park, Harwood Acres Park, Deer Lakes Park, Harrison Hills Park, Boyce Park, White Oak Park, Round Hill Park, South Park, and Settlers Cabin Park. So if you ever go to any of those parks and you see someone dressed like me, they're an Allegheny County Park Ranger. And we do a ton of different things for our job. So if you've ever met a park ranger in Allegheny County, or maybe a National Park Service ranger or a state park ranger, maybe at Point State Park or another state park around Pennsylvania, you might have sort of an idea what a park ranger does. But as an Allegheny County Park Ranger, our job is very different. I mean, we do a lot of different types of things. Some days we're doing education where we might be teaching people like we are today about different things they might see in the parks, or, you know, before the pandemic happened, we're taking things into classrooms and bringing the parks inside so that people can still experience them. We also do a lot of conservation work and making sure the park can stay beautiful and healthy. So we might be tree planting or cleaning up litter. We often work with volunteers in order to take out invasive species or make stream sides better. So we do a lot of things like that. And if we're not doing any of those things, we also like to walk around the parks, hike the trails to make sure they're safe. We do a lot of trail work. We say hi to people. We make sure that we can answer any questions that they have. And we also give directions, and we're just there as a resource for the people that are using our parks. So that's just a little bit about what we do. Today we're here at South Park, and I want to talk to you about one of my favorite parts of South Park that I think is really unique, which are our bison. And if you've never heard about a bison, or you're not really sure what a bison is, we're gonna go through that. And oftentimes bison are called buffalo. So if you've heard of a buffalo before, you might be more familiar with a bison. And in general, they're pretty similar animals, but they're very different. So in our area, a bison is a big cow-like animal. They have horns, they have big muscly shoulders, and a big hump behind their neck. And buffalo are similar. They live in Africa or Asia. They, instead of having horns that stick up like our bison do, they have like swoopy horns that come down off the side of their heads, and they often live in more aquatic environments. So in our area, where you can call a bison a buffalo, it's totally fine. People know what you're talking about, but technically they're different animals. So we're gonna call them bison. The full name is American bison, but we have a couple different kinds. So we're gonna explore kind of what a bison is, why they're important, and then a little bit about why we're talking about bison at South Park. So a bison, like I said, is a big cow-like animal. They have really shaggy fur, they have horns, and they're really big. So a bison can weigh between 700 and 2,000 pounds. And male bison are much bigger than females, but they both have those horns that I was talking about, and they can be used to defend against predators, to establish dominance, and just kind of identify themselves as bison. So despite their size being so big, being 2,000 pounds, that's about the size of a car, they're really athletic. They can run really fast, and they can even jump really high and really far. So I'd like you to take a moment and think, how fast am I? Think about how fast you can run, maybe how fast you are compared to your friends. A bison can run 35 miles an hour, which means if you were doing a 100-yard dash, you would have to run it in under a half a second to be as fast as a bison. So if you can run that fast, then you are as fast as a bison, but I know I cannot run that fast. I am very much slower than a bison. Bison also have really short legs, but like I said, they're really powerful. So not only are they running really fast and really quickly, they can also jump really far. And I want you again to think about, how far you can jump or how high you can jump. Maybe you can have a little contest with your friends or your family a little bit later. But I know I cannot jump very far. I'm a very bad jumper. But a bison can jump 6 feet. And not only can they jump this like this, but also high. So they can get pretty high. So think about the tallest member of your family. I know my boss, Max, who works here at South Park with me, he's about 6 feet tall, and I know he's very tall compared to me. I think that's a tall person, but a bison could jump over him with no problem. So it's pretty incredible that despite how big and bulky they are and how short their legs look, bison are really athletic. And that's because they have lots of muscles. And every part of a bison's body is beneficial either to themselves or to other animals in their ecosystem. So if you're not familiar with where a bison lives, they typically live out in the plains, out west where it's nice and flat. There's wide open spaces. A lot of bison live in Yellowstone National Park, which has some mountains, but it's mostly flat plains area. And these are called plains bison. We used to have some bison here in Pennsylvania that were a little bit smaller and a little different. They're called woods bison, but they don't live here anymore. They have since kind of been extinct from our area. So the bison we have in America these days are called plains bison. And these bison are what we know as a keystone species. I want you to think about that word, keystone species. You might have heard it before, you might not have heard it before, and if you haven't heard it before, that's okay. We're gonna talk about it. But a keystone species is a species that is very important to its environment, not only for itself, but for the other animals and plants that live there. And without keystone species, their environment would severely suffer. So other keystone species are things like beavers, who dam up water and create homes for fish, and that creates food for other birds and deeper water for more plants to grow. Without a beaver, none of those things would be able to exist in that water. And it's the same with a bison. Bison don't dam up rivers, they don't create homes for fish, but the plains are a wide open space, and they perform vital roles in order for other plants and animals to be able to live in that environment. So a bison not only has these big muscles to help it run fast and jump far, but it has this big body, it's covered by shaggy hair. And bison do an activity called wallowing, and that's basically just a fancy word for roll around in the dirt. And when a bison wallows, it's rolling around in the dirt, and that shaggy hair gets shed. It falls off of its body and it lands in this crevice, this depression that is made in the dirt when the bison rolls in it. And the hair covers the bottom of that depression, and when it rains, the rainwater can't soak into the ground as quickly because that hair is keeping it in there. And it creates what we know as a vernal pool, which is a temporary body of water. And in the plains region, there's not a lot of rivers or lakes around for animals to drink in or to cool off in. And so these vernal pools created by bison wallowing give those animals a drinking hole, somewhere to cool off, and just that resource that they wouldn't have otherwise. Bison, like I said, have these really short legs, but they're big and heavy, and so when they walk, that also helps other plants and animals. So they walk, they have hooved feet just like cows or horses or deer, and when they walk, they kind of scrunch into the dirt and they make holes. It's called aerating, which means allowing air or oxygen into the soil, which can promote healthy plants because they need air to grow just like we need air to survive. And it also, when they're walking through the plains, their hair sheds off seeds that they might have picked up along the way. And so they can plant new plants, grasses, little trees or shrubs as they walk along. And not only are they planting plants and trees and shrubs, they also eat them. So bison are herbivores, and you can see from the teeth here that they're really flat. I mean, relatively flat. These ones are pretty pokey here, but all herbivores have flat teeth. So if you ever see a deer teeth or beaver teeth, you'll notice that they have these flat ones. It's for grinding up plants. And bison eat plants, they're grazers, so they don't eat a whole plant and then walk away. They take little bits off plants and they keep going. So they're not eating all of a plant, they're leaving some behind. But by keeping some grasses and sedges short, it allows other plants to grow taller. So we don't want our plants getting overcrowded because they won't have enough sunlight to both survive in the same area. So by a bison biting off some of these grasses and sedges, it allows sunlight for other plants so they have room to grow and can create that healthy environment that is so needed. And when I think of out west, I typically think of California, places where it's really warm. But it can also snow in the plains. In the area where bison live, it gets snowy. And like I said, they have these really little legs. And I don't know if you've ever tried to walk through really deep snow or maybe walk through a pool. It's really hard to walk through something that's not just air. And it's the same for other animals and even the bison. And they have this really big hump behind their head, and that helps them. Some people think that it's full of water or it's full of fat like a camel's hump, but it's actually just muscle, and it helps hold up their giant head. And because bison can't drive or be snow plows, they need something to clear away the snow, and they use that head. So they'll swing it back and forth, and it clears the snow so that they can walk, but it also clears the snow so that other animals can walk through their trails, so that other animals can eat the grasses or other plants that they uncover by moving the snow, and that helps these other animals get around and find food as well. And I always thought it would be really, really cold to have my face used as a snow plow, but bison have really hairy faces. They have something on their chin called a beard, and both males and females have a beard, and it's this really long hair. It can get up to 16 inches long, which is just over a foot long, and that helps protect them from the cold. So the snow attaches to their fur, but it doesn't get on their skin, so they can stay warm. So not only are bison important to the environment that they live in, they're also a cultural symbol. So a lot of Plains American Indians are considering the bison sacred to them because they use every part of the bison's body in order to survive, whether it's for food from the meat or by making tools or other containers out of their organs or their horns, like this one. You can shine up the horn and make a nice container out of it. They also use different parts of it, like the hair and the hide, to stay warm, to create clothes, blankets, or shelters. So the bison is really important culturally to their people. It's also a national symbol for Americans, and it's been featured on a buffalo nickel. There's also the bison on the logo of the National Park Service. And in 2016, the bison was declared the national mammal. We didn't always have bison, and we almost lost them. They were hunted almost to extinction with westward expansion in the late 1700s, early 1800s, and into the late 1800s even. We were building railroads, we were moving out west, and bison posed a threat not only to railroads and train safety, but also to ranchers who wanted to make their livelihood out west. So they were hunted in order to avoid bison eating crops and bison getting on train tracks. And President Roosevelt noticed this was happening, and he said, we have to stop this. And he advocated for their preservation. Like I mentioned earlier, you might be wondering why we're talking about an animal that lives out west here in Pennsylvania, really far away from where they live naturally. But it's because here in South Park, we have a herd of bison. There's generally between 10 and 20 individuals, and every year we usually get 1 or 2 calves. They're very cute. They have a bright orange coat, and they're often referred to as red dogs because of their color. And they change color as they grow up. But we got our first herd in the 1930s when the parks were first being developed. They decided that they wanted to have bison here as a way to remember this wild spirit of America. They wanted to preserve that idea that bison have perseverance and survivorship, and they kind of fought through a challenge and made it through. And so the park's founders and parks directors wanted to memorialize that spirit, and so they brought some bison here. There was originally a herd in North Park, but they eventually consolidated the herds, and to this day they live here at South Park. So if you'd like to know more about the bison or even come see them, you can come to South Park and visit the game preserve, which is off of Sesqui Drive, and you can see them almost all day, all year, and it's a really fun experience to go see something that's not only so important to environments out west, but also to our culture and cultures of many different peoples. So thank you for coming here, listening to our video and learning a bit more about bison. We hope to see you in South Park, seeing the bison up close and personal sometime soon.